Time for the start of our winter sports, KMCH Sports Performers of the Week. Standout Performers of the Week here, brought to you by F&M Bank. And it's a 2-for-1 special with West Delaware Girls Wrestling, the first two champs ever at the South Tama Invitational a couple of weeks ago. And Abigail Rear and ADDESYN Welcher are with us today, our standout performers. And Abigail, we'll start with you. Just talk about this wrestling experience here and what made you want to try it.
I've always liked wrestling. I've watched wrestling forever. My family likes it. But as the time started getting closer for it to start, all my friends were like, you should do it, you should do it. And I really didn't know, but I'm really glad I did, and I really enjoy it. Indeed,
really enjoy it. And talking about being a wrestling family, Addie, you're the same boat there. Wrestling is in your bloodlines. Talk about what made you go to that. Grandma, I'm sure, had a strong influence.
Yeah, my grandma and I were talking about it about last week ago, how wrestling always run through the blood. And since my brother lost his last tournament before he was going to go to Iowa State, it made me think of what he could have done to push himself forward, and that's what made me really want to join wrestling, is from family and also to challenge me in different sports, because I also do volleyball too. So it might be challenging with volleyball and wrestling, but it will also teach me to push harder.
And a part of history here, Abigail, what's it mean to you to be one of the first ever girls on the team, let alone that, and the fact that you're one to win a champion for the first time along with your teammate ADDESYN?
It's just really exciting, and just I don't know, that night it was just so happy, and ADDESYN just came up and she gave me the biggest hug, and we were just so happy. It's just such a good feeling. And the girls on our team play such a big part of it. It's it's an individual sport, but it's such a team sport, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the girls that supported me.
Indeed. How about for you, Addie? What's it mean?
Well, when I got done with my wrestling, my first match, I remember I was going up to Dale and Meyer, and they both told me that I looked like a zombie. And then I went off to the side and I was hugging Abigail, and she was telling me how I did a great job. And it's just really nice having girls that support me with wrestling and also with my coaches.
Indeed, and what a school to start the wrestling program with West Delaware, the tradition and the success they've had on the boys' side. And I'm sure your classmates, teammates, you've talked to them about it, and it's a different deal, but I'm sure you get support from them as well.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit, get to know you both a little bit more here. Let's talk about favorite athlete. Addie, do you have a favorite athlete that you looked up to?
Well, when I first started looking towards wrestling, I always watched WELCHER.
Yeah. That's a good one to emphasize after, yeah.
Yeah, he always, I don't know, just something about him. He always, pushed himself harder, and he, went off to talk to his teammates about what they could do better. He was always, a leader, and that's what I want to do for wrestling.
No doubt there's a reason why he's wrestling at UNI, now Division I wrestler. How about for you, Abigail?
When I started really watching wrestling, probably 5 or 6 years ago, Iowa wrestler Alex Marinelli was my favorite. Sure. And until he graduated last year, he was my favorite Iowa wrestler. And even though he never won the national title, he never quit, and he always pushed forward, and he always gave it his all.
That's great insight there. Let's talk about favorite sports quotes. Something you live by, something that keeps you going, something maybe that you think of when times are tough in practice or meet, and that helps you remember what your goals are.
One day I was running down the hall, we were running keys, and one of my teammates was ahead of me, and Geyer was telling me that I could catch her, and I was trying to catch her, but he just kept yelling down the hall. He said, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And I think of that every time things are getting hard. If I want to succeed, then I have to work hard.
That's great. Addie?
I don't really have a quote, but when I'm having a really time struggling with breathing, they always tell me to breathe in through my nose and let it all out through my mouth. And that always pushes me.
Indeed. And talk about, I know it's early on in your wrestling careers here, talk about any rituals, any superstitions that you two have, maybe your teammates have thought about or talked about here, anything in that regard?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. How about pump-up music? And music gets you going, you listen to before meets?
Dale's playlist.
Dale's playlist. Is it from the 70s, 80s, or is it modern?
It depends on the day. They're all modern. It's just sometimes the music. He always has some good songs on his playlist. Like this morning, we were listening to Taylor Swift. And like sometimes at the meets, he has like really hyped music. Like we're all just jumping around and dancing before we go out and get ready.
That's great. All right, we wrap up here with Abigail and Addison, first over champs, and West Delaware girls wrestling. Best of luck to you. Keep it going, and thanks for your time here today. Addison and Abigail are standout performers of the week, presented by F&M Bank here from KMCH Sports.